Hi, and welcome to Color Your Home Happy. I'm Justine, founder and creative mind behind Rainbow Shaker, a colorful interior design studio in London. My goal is to spread joy and happiness through the design of cheerful interiors. If, like me, you think that we need a colorful bubble to escape the daily gloom, then this podcast is definitely for you. Each episode, I will be welcoming well-known guests from various colorful backgrounds. You won't find us speaking about the right way to use colors. In this podcast, I want to help you trust your intuition and give you all the confidence you need when designing interiors full of dopamine. Welcome back to Color Your Home Happy. I'm Justine, your host and colorful interior designer at Rainbow Shaker. I'm thrilled to receive today a very special guest coming from across the Atlantic, Marie-Chantal Milette. She's a color and branding expert who's worked with top designers and helps brands elevate their identities. Today, we're diving into the always anticipated Pantone Color of the Year, Marie-Chantal's prediction, and how to bring colors into your home without feeling the need to follow the crowd. So let's dive in. Hi, Marie-Chantal. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
Good, thanks. And you're bringing your very colorful background from behind you. I can see yellow, pink.
Yes, it's my office, so it needs to be like supercharged with colors because that's where I do all my color consulting.
Yeah, it's lovely. Can you tell us a bit about yourself and your colorful journey?
Yes, we always ask kids what they want to do for a living as soon as they turn like 3 or 4 years old, as if we know then what we want to do later in life. And I never knew what I wanted to do. Everybody wanted to work with animals. I love animals, but I didn't want to be like any kind of vet or anything like all my friends. And I went to a paint store one day with my dad and he asked me to pick the new color for my bedroom. And it was like the best gift ever, I remember. And I looked at the color names to guide me because I loved every single color and just picking one was like an impossible task. And I found a color that was named with like a French Quebecer swear word. So when my dad came back and asked me what the color was, I said vert calice, which is like a super bad swear word I wasn't even allowed to use. So he was really mad, but then he saw that it was like the actual name of the color. And he said, I can't believe that the person who's paid to name the colors chose that name. And then I was like mind blown because I never thought that a person was getting paid to name colors. And then I decided that was like what I was going to do when I grew up because it seemed like the best job in the world. Unfortunately for me and my dad, who regretted his choice of words, I guess, for a really long time after that, there was no like university program in color naming. So I studied advertising in one of the best schools at the time, Creative Circus in Atlanta. So I moved in the United States to follow this advertising training that had a big color program inside the advertising training. I moved back to Montreal. I had a few jobs in agency, but I self-taught myself everything I knew about color. And I found out that Leatrice Eisman, who's the director of Pantone, who picks the color of the year, was giving a training at her home in Seattle. And so I went to Seattle. I took 4 days with her and I launched my own business as a color consultant pretty much that year.
So your company is called Kryptonie Color Agency, right?
Yes, Kryptonie Color Agency. So now for my business, I do color consulting in a bunch of different industry. It's really hard for me to describe my job because I do so many different things and everybody doesn't really know what I do. Even I feel like sometimes people close to me are like, she's this color expert. We don't really know what she actually does from 9 to 5. But like I always say, you know, there's a shampoo bottle in your shower. I might have chosen the colors for that. I have clients from several different industries. There's boats that I choose colors for, you know, fishing boats. It was difficult at first because I advertise myself as a color expert and nobody just out of the blue usually is looking for a color expert because, I mean, that's not something you look for. You don't even know we exist really. There's so little of us that actually went for it and became color experts. So I thought it would be great if I had some kind of like advertising advertising and my name was in the newspaper. And I didn't really know how to do that other than trying to predict the Pantone Color of the Year before it came out. So I wrote many journalists, every journalist I could find publicly on Google, my prediction for Pantone Color of the Year months before it came out. And nobody reached out because it was like this crazy girl who thinks she knows the color of the year. But in December, the color of the year came out and it was Radiant Orchid, the exact color I said would be the color of the year. And then my phone started ringing because now everybody was intrigued. And it was amazing after that. I got a lot of publicity. My name was in the papers. I gave like radio interviews. I started going on TV as the girl who can predict the color of the year. And I thought, wow, that's great. Like, I don't even know that I'm going to be able to do this again. But I did it 2 other times after that. I went on TV for Illuminating back in 2020. I said live on TV, the color of the year is going to be illuminating yellow. And then 2 months later, Pantone announces it. And then after that, I decided to launch my own color of the year because I was like kind of getting tired of just predicting Pantones. And I thought I had a voice also that was interesting enough to be heard. But last year, Pantone copied me and they launched pretty much the exact same color. So I guess I can say that I predicted Pantone Color of the Year 4 times, even though the 4th time they copied me. So yeah, I pick colors for a living, really, but I don't like pick them out of a hat. I do a lot of research. And also I do trend research for clients who want to order or create merchandise in like 2 years. I have this big clothing store here. They have to start preparing their collections. Right now we're in 2024. For like 2026 already, they need to buy the fabric. They need to start the design process. I need to be able to tell them like this color is going to do really well in 2026. So I build trend reports to them that are a little more detailed than just like a color of the year because they're not going to build an entire collection around one color. And now in the last 4 or 5 years, I really developed the training part of my business. I do online training. I have people from all over the world taking my color intensive training, my trend conferences. I have different course offerings to really help people have a better understanding on color. And it came for me as kind of like a frustration to see that color wasn't being taught well. There was not a course that I found was very complete. Like even the interior design school, in their entire program, they had like 1 day about the color wheel. But there's not any class that kind of challenges like how color can bring a better well-being for the client.
How do you also help your client with colors, helping them finding their true colors, branding?
So color sends like so many psychological messages, but also we respond physiologically to color. So I do a lot of research about how my client wants to be positioned into a certain market. Like, who are you speaking to? Is it for a woman? How old is she? What's the price point? What's the mindset? How can we stand out from your competition? So there's like a huge part that is actual research before I even come up with like a color offering. Sometimes I'm not involved in the design process. Sometimes they come up, they already hired an agency and they want to validate the final steps for color matching. Like, is this the right color for our product? And then I just kind of do a review or research. I validate or I challenge, bring a different proposal. It's fun because at first I worked with like many smaller clients, entrepreneurs, and I still do, but now I worked with bigger clients like L'Oreal, Guerlain. And now I can really tell that the small entrepreneurs, they feel really close to their business. The biggest mistake that they do is they think their business is about them. It really is not. Most time, your business is about your service and your client, and your personal taste shouldn't have such a big impact in the color of your identity, because it's not about putting yourself out there. It's about making sales. So if you're a small entrepreneur and you're thinking about your personal colors, don't think about your favorite colors. So think about color in a commercial setting. So I hope that resonates with people, because that is, I think, the biggest mistake that I see.
Yeah, exactly. I actually experimented it lately because I worked on a hotel project in Paris. I wanted to redesign the space, but the owner just said, I want it all pink. And I was like, yeah, but what's behind it? And he was like, I don't really know, but I want it pink. And I was like, even though I love pink, we can't work like this. We have to do a market study before. We have to analyze everything. What's the story behind the hotel? What's the character of the hotel? Who are the clients? because I'm not going to come around and just paint your wall and charge you and your space is done. But I want the clients who are coming to your place to feel a connection to the space, and without a story behind it, they can't connect. And if they can't understand, they won't come.
Exactly.
It's weird to think how color can mean so many things and can be so symbolic and act on people's mind. Actually, I discovered a pretty cool author on color called Michel Pastoureau, and he's writing a lot about color, and he's explaining a lot about the color symbolism, how it changed. For example, the color red was the first color to be used in art by men. It's so weird to see the evolution of this color, at first seen as powerful color, then red as impulsivity because it's the color of blood, and then some events that happened, for example, French Revolution, and then red become political color, revolutionary. So it had a lot of different meaning, and you could see that some events transformed the symbolism of the color.
Yes, colors can acquire different meanings. One of the latest examples we have of that is magenta being a color of woman activism. It started officially with the Free Britney campaign, where people were trying to liberate Britney Spears from her father's conservatorship. And all the signs were magenta in support for her. And it came at a time where just after that, women lost their rights to abortion. And the Barbie movie came as like this feminist movie, but also resonated with women's childhood. Millennial women had Barbies that had this very flashy pink. So we kind of made peace with our childhood because we were often told, okay, now you can't play with Barbies anymore. You're too old. Yet grown men can have like life-size Star Wars figures in their home, and that's fine. But us women, if we have a life-size Barbie, we have mental issues. There's like kind of like a division in how we're allowed to live our childhood, get out of it, and live our own femininity. And the Barbie movie came at a time where we needed a voice for women. And so now I see magenta becoming a color of activism for women, which is very much new, this very bright magenta. And I think now it transcends the whole Barbie movie. And we're going to see it even more because, you know, Trump is back, and some of the stuff he did made it so that today there's women in the United States that can't get abortions. So there's like a lot of things happening. Women are still going to have to fight for their rights over there and in many other parts of the world. So yeah, cultural events can really shape the way we see and perceive a color.
Can you explain a bit about what actually is Pantone?
Pantone, at the core of it, is to facilitate communication of color all throughout the world. So, for example, Coca-Cola, if they're printing, you know, cans for their drink in China, but also they're printing scarves for little teddy bear in the United States, the red corresponds. So everybody looks at the Pantone charts to look at the color recipe to have color consistency. So the Pantone books are allowing us to have a better communication throughout the world to make sure that all the printing is uniform and all the color recipes are uniform. So it is considered to be the world authority on color communication. That is the core responsibility of Pantone, offer the codes and the recipe to make sure that everything corresponds.
Yeah, so to avoid incidents like we have between the metric system and the imperial system.
Pretty much. But anybody that has a printer or two printers can realize that if you use, you know, CMYK, which is like the normal printing cartridges, you'll realize that you can print twice the same paper on the same document on different printers, and the colors won't ever be 100% consistent because the recipes are kind of like dependent on many things, calibration, printing device. But when you pick a Pantone color, it is made to a standard that it is always exactly the same, no matter who you print it with. It's like an ink that you add. It's not blended with the printer. It is a very calculated recipe.
It's like RAL colors or Exas as well.
Yeah, RAL is like pretty much they do what Pantone does. They're a little more popular in Europe. Not a lot of people do RALs in North America, but I know that RAL is doing pretty much the same as Pantone in Europe, mostly.
But I think their range is a bit narrow compared to Pantone. Like Pantone has a wide wide collection of colors.
Yes, because everything you do in the United States is bigger.
Exactly. Do you know the first time Pantone created this color of the year?
Initially, when it launched, it was for the year 2000. And everybody that was there kind of remembers how we were anxious about entering the new millennium. There was like, oh, the world is going to stop. We don't know what's going to happen. Everything is going to change. We had so many fears. And then Pantone kind of sensed that, and they decided to launch a color of the year to reassure us. So by naming cerulean blue the first color of the year, it sent a message of hope in a time of turmoil. And that message was, we don't know what's going to happen, but the sky is going to become blue again.
Yeah, it's like the episode before I was talking with June Mineyama-Smithson, who's working as Mamie Moo, and she said that she's using color as a way to spread optimism. Actually, this is kind of the same. It's like a way to move people, like to not just be sitting there and be like, oh, well, what can I do? It's just going to get worse and worse and we can't do anything about it.
Yes. When I predicted illuminating yellow, for me, it was like, oh, this is a dark time. The pandemic was the darkest times, many of us. And so I thought we need this kind of hope and this light at the end of the tunnel. And so this beaming light for me was yellow, illuminating. Even the name conveyed like there's going to be light at the end of this. And we needed to hang on to that. So it's deeper than just like something that comes into fashion. It's supposed to be a celebration, but also kind of an offered antidote that corresponds to what's going on in the world.
So what is the impact of the color of the year?
The impact is huge because now at first it was kind of like, oh, this beautiful color that Pantone named in 2000, but it has a huge marketing and commercial impact. The only thing is that brands can't really prepare for it because other entities like WGSN named their color of the year 2 years in advance. Pantone give us a month. The beginning of December, they're like, this is the color for the next year. So the brands that don't have it in their collections, the bigger brands, it's a little late to start producing anything. What we will see is like everybody that has like something that is a close match to the color, and sometimes it's not a close match, but they'll try really hard. They'll be like, hey, we have the color of the year in our collection. And you're like, this is not the color of the year. People really try to stretch out the definition of the color of the year, but it has a huge impact. We see it every year gaining in popularity and like discussion, and everybody's intrigued and interested. And it has an impact also in how we act because it is chosen as kind of an antidote. And then you'll have people that are more maybe keen to include it in their lives one way or another.
Lots of people, I think, are interpreting color of the year as the color you need to use in your home, like wearing and stuff. And I heard a lot of, for example, clients when I designed their home, they were like, this color is so last year trend, or no, I'm not really into that trend anymore. I'm sure that when I'm going to sell the house, this trend won't be good. No, it's not how to interpret it, actually. They don't do that for you to decorate everything in peach fuzz, for example.
I think our homes should not be about trends. They should be about psychological message and how we can achieve better well-being through color. So, for example, me, I'm a very colorful person and I have like a very stimulating office, but in my home, it's not as exciting in terms of color because I need to be calmed down in many ways. There's a lot of blues in my home, and blue is definitely not my favorite color, but I know that I need it to calm down because I'm such an excited, extroverted, intense person. So that's where people make the mistake. They either choose their favorite colors or they go with trends. And I think both are dangerous. I'm not saying your favorite color doesn't bring you joy. It does. So it definitely should have a place in your home, but not maybe the spotlight center stage and in every room. Like my grandmother loves red, and usually the people who love red love red. Like they want it everywhere.
Yeah.
And in my grandma's home, everything was always red. Her kitchen, her table, her bedroom was red. I'm like, okay, like I know you love red, but you're very intense. She has like insomnia. She literally doesn't sleep at night. Maybe red in the bedroom is not a good idea. Maybe we should explore green. And like slowly I was able to incorporate new colors in her life, and she started feeling better. I mean, her kitchen will always have red in it. It's fine. She can get excited when she cooks and entertains in the kitchen, but she doesn't have to have it in every room of the house. And it's not about trend. It's about like what colors bring you comfort and balance and make you the best version of you. That's what matters. And if the reasoning behind a trend speaks to you, like, for example, you need more humanity in your life, you need something more soft, more warm, well, that's a good reason to incorporate peach fuzz in your life. If like something in you corresponds to the message and it brings you well-being, that is the only reason why you should incorporate it in your home. If it doesn't, it's just a color trend. You don't have to put it in your home. It doesn't matter. Even if like it's a color from 5 years ago, and it really helps you in so many ways, bring it. It's your home. It's not a copy paste. You don't put it everywhere. I don't change my office color every year for color of the year. And I work with the color of the year. Like, I don't care, you know?
I'm excited to announce that this episode is sponsored by the Interior Design Institute, where I graduated. If you're a design lover or dreaming of becoming an interior designer, their 12-module online course is perfect. You can study at your own pace with no fixed deadlines. I really loved it. The detailed content, practical project assignments, and my tutor's guidance all gave me the skills and confidence to launch my colorful design business and compete on the big interiors battle. For this special occasion, you can now get £100 off your enrollment fees with the link provided in the episode's description. So don't wait up! In fact, it's as if Pantone is trying to kind of predict how society would evolve or would behave during the year. But it's hard because you never know what's going to happen.
But usually it's kind of the antidote for something that has kind of maybe already happened or is already in motion. So for example, last year, the dehumanizing was already happening and it was meant to bring us closer. So sometimes it's more about that because it's difficult to predict the future. And I think because there is a variable where we can't predict the future, actually, the not as good color of the year that came out was very Perry. So for 2022, they made up a color. It was very Perry. It was kind of like this beautiful purple. And usually I always know that after a very difficult cycle, and COVID is considered a difficult cycle, one purple or another has to come back because purple brings us creativity. And kind of after a difficult period, we need to recreate and reinvent ourselves. And that was the message that they wanted to send with very Perry. And they decided that in July of 2021, where things were looking good, you know, people were getting vaccinated, you know, people were coming together again. In many people's minds, COVID was over. So when Pantone picked the color, they were like, oh, this is a great time to tell people, okay, let's reinvent ourselves. Let's go out. Let's become anew. And then in September, there's a new wave of COVID, the worst one. And then we're diving into a very dark fall. For us, at least in Quebec, we're like in December, like, okay, everybody stay in your house. Nobody can celebrate together. And then Pantone comes out and they're like, purple, get out there and reinvent yourself. The government is like, stay inside your homes. This is the worst wave of COVID. So I think they got really excited about the prospect of us getting out there. And then COVID had other plans. For that reason, that color of the year came at a time where we weren't ready for it. I think Very Perry could have been the color of the year of the following year and could have done amazingly. But that's a risk when you predict a color of the year, that a major event, you know, it could be like a beautiful year. Oh my gosh, all the wars have ended. Everything is beautiful. And you launch a beautiful color of hope and optimism and whatever you want, excitement, and then there's a bomb come off. You don't know. So there's always that side of predicting trends that is kind of risky. It's a gamble. It always will remain a gamble.
And do you think that they're actually working on the color of the year up until the last day? Like, for example, we just learned that Trump was elected for president.
Usually it's done in July. So whatever happens now is dangerous for them because they didn't see this coming. The last 4 months have no influence on the color of the year that's about to come out because they do commercial collaboration. Usually the color of the year comes out and they already have swatch books available for purchase, limited edition objects. They did makeup collabs in the past. This stuff takes time. So they decide in July, then they could do a makeup collab with Sephora. Sephora needs to start producing those lipsticks wherever and then bring them. And then they have to be launched in store the same day. And so there's no time. They know, they've known since at least July. They didn't know that Trump was being elected. Hopefully it doesn't mess up their plans too much.
Yeah, a lot had happened for them, unfortunately, because it's of the year. Does it expire after 1 year? It's done.
That is actually a big debate amongst, you know, professional does a color of the year expire after the year is actually over. I don't think it does. It really depends on which color we're talking about. Sometimes if Pantone doesn't choose it as good, well, it didn't do so well in the first place, or because the societal shifts happened too fast for them to pick a color that was really on track. So we're not seeing it as much in the following year, and that's just normal. So it will largely depend on how well they selected it in the first place. I think when a color of the year is really well chosen, because I think there's been some really big wins for Pantone over the years. And when that happens, I think really it has a much deeper impact than just the current year. So for example, the peach that is currently the color of the year, because we're in 2024, that I also thought peach is important. I picked it because I thought what we're seeing in the news is dehumanizing. There's so many wars right now happening, but also like all the post-COVID and the polarization of opinions. There is like far left, far right, and there doesn't seem to be kind of like a discourse where everybody can just still be friends. Politics are very divisive, even like just with the American politics. So I feel like that theme of us being very dehumanized, also through technology, like we're always on our phones, physical encounters and deep conversations are not as meaningful and not as frequent as before. So the selection of the peach, which is like a warm human color, was very much in tune with what's happening, but I see it happening even more than when I called it last year. So for me, the need of peach in our life is going to extend much deeper than just 2024. And usually when a color of the year is well picked, what we see is it kind of shifts and evolves. So for example, illuminating was like kind of this bright yellow. And then after a year, it becomes maybe a little more orangey, or it fades into like the butter because we need kind of like the soft side of the yellow. So it doesn't have kind of like a stop at midnight when we change the year. It kind of like slowly shifts into another color, or it can stay very strong. Like, for example, greenery, which was one of the predictions that I got correct for 2017, was like this need of injecting nature in our lives because we're so far from nature, further than ever before with all our interaction with technology. I think we're always interacting with technology. So the need for nature was so strong that Pantone was like, okay, let's name greenery as color of the year. But the truth is, after 2017, we didn't put our phones down. They were even more present. And if anything, they're even more present now. And so for me, greenery did really well for like, even now we're coming into like almost a decade of greenery, and greens doing so well. And you can see in many trend reports, there's always a green lately.
Also, we say that history tends to repeat itself.
That's true.
Did it already happen that Pantone elected twice or several times the same color?
Some of them are pretty similar. There kind of seems to be some sort of pattern. There's a lot of yellow. There's a lot of purple as well. Turquoise is a Pantone favorite. If you look at all like the colors of the year, you'll see like a lot of blue-green, turquoise, yellow, yeah, but never the exact same one. So I think if they were to do it, it would be this year because it's their 25th anniversary, and it is actually a good year for that message. If they don't do it now, I don't think they ever will do it again. So they could. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. If I were at Pantone and I had to pick a color, I would definitely launch the same color to kind of like do the anniversary, talk about how the initiative started, and bring back some history.
So if someone working at Pantone is hearing us, I'm sorry it's too late to change, but I hope you made the right choice.
Funnily enough, mostly Beatrice Eisman, who picked the color of the year, I studied with her. And in August, I invited her to meet some of my students. And I interviewed her. She just possibly had to pick the color of the year a couple of weeks before that. And I asked her what she thought, what the color of the year could be. And she just smiled. She said she couldn't answer. And she asked me what I thought. And I said, well, I think it should be like blue because this and that. And she just smiled. So she knows exactly what I think already.
Is there a color or colors that never became color of the year?
There's a few. Well, there hasn't been a black. There hasn't been a white. There hasn't been many browns. Not that many greens, ironically. There's like a couple. There's definitely some color families that haven't had their time to shine. There's like greenery and there's emerald, and I think that's it. That's not enough. Like green is so beautiful and trending all the time. For me, green is the new gray. That's going to be written on my tombstone, I think, because I think green is the neutral that we have to watch for the next 20 years. And I call it a neutral because it's nature's biggest neutral. It's like in the middle of the rainbow. It's not too cool. It's not too warm. It's kind of like this good temperature color that we can add anywhere. We can put a plant in your room and it works. There should be more green. Maybe they're going to do that. Maybe they looked at their color there and it's like, oh my gosh, we never named green. You know?
Yeah. Now, green, we think about nature, but it also the color of chance, luck, change as well, because of the instability originally of green for the dyes, for example, with arsenic dyes and all that, and also the danger behind it. Now people want to feel closer to nature and feel the change that some luck will be here.
Yeah, hopefully we get lucky.
Do you have a precise methodology to predict this color of the year? How do you do it? You have this gift of communicating with, I don't know, with spirits.
Yeah, we were joking about this before we were starting. People think I have like a crystal ball, but it is actually kind of, I don't want to say scientific because I'm not a chemist or anything crazy like that, but there's a lot of research involved, like algorithms, politics. We look at what's going on in the world. So every year, starting January 1st, really, I buy a new kind of notebook, blank notebook, and I take notes about everything. I kind of play financial advisor where I really studied the model of a financial advisor. My dad is a financial advisor, and so he told people where to invest their money based on trends. And he always told me that the secret was to stay curious about everything. Stay curious about like the new innovations, stay curious about what's going on in politics, because based on those factors, people are going to start buying this or that, or this industry is going to do well. So I kind of do the same with color. I stay curious and I take a lot of notes. Sporting events, conflicts, politics, what's going on, everything that maybe doesn't seem important will seem important to me. For example, when Trump will go on stage and accept presidency, what color will he be wearing? What color will his wife be wearing? All the royal family, their outings, what are they wearing? What are they saying? What are people talking about right now? Women's rights. There's so many things that I'm going to be looking at. I spend a good time every day just going through the news and reading about everything that's going on in the world. So for example, Radiant Orchid, I saw it everywhere that year. And I saw that we needed change after like 5 years of economic turmoil in America. So Obama, he was sworn in as president. His daughters were wearing purple. Michelle had orchid gloves. Kelly Clarkson, who sang the national anthem, had purple. And purple in the United States has a unifying message because it's the color that brings Republican and Democrats together. So oftentimes purple represents unity, but it also represented hope in that context and creativity of a new beginning. So that was a big thing. Then the Ravens won the Super Bowl, and the Princess Kate, when she came out with Prince George for the first time, she was wearing a Radiant Orchid dress that sold out on the internet for a record amount of time. So I noted all these patterns. I saw other colors, but I would see this purple coming out on cars. I saw Mitsubishi announcing a purple car. We don't see a lot of purple cars. Mustang, the same. Missoni had this exhibition in Italy. It was all purple. Downton Abbey was one of the most celebrated shows. There was like a lot of clues of like purple doing well. And so I knew it was going to go there with the utmost certainty because it was a great antidote with everything that was going on in the world. We needed kind of like a creativity push, but also it was everywhere. And it was just a matter of time before it was announced and celebrated. So it's a lot of research. There's no crystal ball yet.
Actually, last year for Pantone Color of the Year, I did an episode with Emma Besley from Yes Color, and I predicted that it was going to be brown. It was peach fuzz.
It was a good choice.
Which one is going to be this year?
I have different ideas of what they could do. Definitely the brown could be, they really rarely did brown. They did Marsala in 2015, which was kind of more burgundy. It was kind of a brown, but had a lot of red to it. There was also a beige at one time, but brown would be new. And I think we need it. I think also they could do light blue. It's going to be the 25th year of the initiative of the Pantone Color of the Year. And so I think it would kind of be magical to rename for the first time a Pantone Color of the Year that comes back twice. And they can actually retake just cerulean and take exactly that narrative because I think it sticks. Or they can surprise us and go somewhere else. There are many directions this year. So the years where I predicted Pantone Color of the Year, I was pretty sure. I don't know how to explain it, but I was like, this is the only place they could go. In my mind, I was like, this is really a good color of the year. And there are some years, because there's a lot going on, where I'm like, oh, they could go there, they could go there. This is kind of a year like that, you know? Brown could be good. Blue could be good. A green could still be good. Or they could bring us maybe a deeper orange and be like, okay, we need that energy. We need to fight for our rights. We need to be active. Maybe they're going to spread that message. I'm very curious to see what they come up with this year. It's not a year where I would bet a lot of money on my prediction. I can't wait to see.
So listeners, place your bets now.
It's time to place bets.
We're coming to the end of the episode. Do you have a last tip to our listeners?
Wow, I gave a lot of tips already about branding and colors in your home, but I think people have to reevaluate the decision they make about color, because I feel we're in a very colorless society now. And a lot of the people that I meet are just always wearing black and gray because it's easier. But go in your wardrobe right now, look at it and kind of assess what is happening, and is going to offer you mental clarity. I realized by doing that a few years back that maybe 2/3 of my wardrobe was blue, which is not my favorite color. I do not love blue. I like every color, but blue is definitely not my favorite. And I came to question myself. I'm like, why am I wearing so much blue? And I realized that because I consider myself such an intense person, I kind of took refuge in this color that was kind of soothing to not appear too intense to most people. And I decided to change that automatically. I still have that blue in my wardrobe, but I decided to buy like magenta and orange. And ironically, even though I was the color girl, I wasn't wearing those bright colors because I thought I would be too much. I love wearing those colors now. Like, I'm too much, maybe, but I'm me. So like, don't be afraid of color is what I want to say. Like, don't be afraid to mix it, to wear it, to put it on your walls. We have like one life to live. Stop just wearing a black sweater because it's safe. Get out there, wear colors on you at all times because it makes you feel good. It makes us feel better to have color around us. More color brings more joy. So surround yourself with color, whatever color, to make yourself feel better. Don't be afraid to not fit in. Be yourself, be you, be authentically you.
Yeah, and don't follow blindly the trends. Marie-Chantal, is there a way our listeners can contact you?
I'm very active on social media, whether Facebook or Instagram. Company is Kryptonie, so Kryptonie. And on Instagram, it's Kryptonie, spelled the same, Color Agency in one word. And you can just message me there and I'll answer between 14 seconds and 14 business days.
And if they want to join your course, can they go on your website, for example?
Yes, I have two websites. The Kryptonie.com is more like for clients in color consulting, and my other one is Kryptonie.studio, which is where I do all the classes, courses offering, and you can find out about all the courses that I have going on.
Thank you again, Marie-Chantal, for being a guest on my podcast. It was lovely to chat with you.
Thank you for inviting me.
I hope to do it in person.
Maybe in another life or another time when you come here. I'll do a color retreat in September next year. You should come.
Ah, nice. Yeah, definitely my vibe. So thank you again. And thank you to all our listeners. I hope you liked the episode and appreciated knowing more about Pantone Color of the Year. Don't forget to send us your predictions. And maybe if you have a new methodology, we would really love to see it. See you soon on another colorful episode. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, don't hesitate to subscribe, rate, or review on the different listening platforms. To say hello and get all the latest from me, you can follow me on Instagram at rainbow.shaker. And if you want to check out my services, you can go to my website, www.rainbowshaker.com. Thanks again, and I wish you all a very colorful day. See you next time!